Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first story is titled, I Muted a Bar Customer. When I used to bartend, I tried to have tolerance of people and their situations. Sometimes people would come in and have the worst attitudes. Usually by the time their night was over, there'd be some type of calm/apologetic tone when they closed their tabs. Then there was this one girl. She was in her early 20s and was with a guy friend sitting at the bar. I carded them and she immediately gave an attitude about it. Then, after reading the martini menu, I worked at a bar that specialized in martinis, she made a few comments about how the martinis better be worth it. She ordered her first martini a thin mint. Her friend ordered a dirty. I made both at the same time and put the glasses in front of them and walked to the other customers. I went to check on them 10 minutes later and she berates me for the crappy martinis I made, and the thin mint tastes like ass even though she managed to drink almost all of it. Her friend liked his martini and ordered another and apparently tried to calm her down. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, took the martini away, and asked what she would like instead of that one, and also free of charge. She asked for a fruity martini with the same attitude. I made both martinis, set them down in front of them, and walk away. More people came in, and it gets decently busy. The other bartender comes up to me and says that she wants to talk to me. I walk up to her, and again, the martini, also almost finished, was the worst, and this is the worst establishment she's ever been to and won't ever come again. I give them the tab to get them to leave. 15 minutes later, she's now yelling about the awful service and telling other customers that they shouldn't stay in the bar with crappy drinks and how she could make better martinis. She was awful, and after her friend paid the tab, no tip, I told her in no uncertain terms that she is never allowed back into the bar. She asked to speak to the manager, and I said I was the manager. Here's the petty. 2 weeks later, her friend, B, is having a birthday party at the bar. B's friends are all showing up to celebrate with her. In walks the girl who berated me, the bar, and the other customers. I looked at her and told her that she was not allowed into the bar and needed to leave. That I was not up to dealing with anything out of her mouth, nor her attitude. She pleads with me to please let her stay as it's her best friend's birthday, blah blah. B asks if there's anything she could do to stay. So I tell them that she can stay, but she cannot say one word or sound the entire time she is there. If I or anyone else in that bar hears anything, she needs to leave. The entire night she had to use pen and paper or her phone to communicate. It was also even more embarrassing for her because a few of the regulars that saw her the first time let it be known to the entire bar why she was muted. It became a game with them to try to get her to make a sound. The next story is titled, Dispute with Neighbor Over Property Ownership Leads to Division of Building in Half. Living in a peaceful suburban neighborhood with my family was always a dream for me. However, that dream turned into a nightmare when my neighbor claimed that he owned a piece of my property. This neighbor was a single man in his 60s, and he had recently built a shed, or a utility building as he called it, on his property. I didn't have a problem with that until I realized that the shed was on my land, and it wasn't just a few inches over, but it was halfway into my property. This meant that I had to deal with my crazy neighbor who didn't seem to care about my property or my concerns. One day I decided to go and talk to him to see if he was aware of the situation, and I found him to be very hostile. He told me that he wasn't going to move the shed and that he would kill me if I came onto his land again. I was shocked and terrified. I didn't know how to deal with this situation, but I knew I had to find a solution. I started by doing some research on the property line, and I found out that the building was illegally constructed. The building was also being used to store illegal firearms, and the neighbor's threatening behavior made me even more nervous. I decided to call the police and report him for the illegal building and firearms. The police came and searched his property, and they found several illegal firearms in the shed. The neighbor was arrested, and the police took the firearms into custody. Although the neighbor was in jail, the building was still on my property, and I had to find a way to deal with it. I hired a surveyor to confirm the property line and mark it with stakes. Then I hired a contractor to use a chainsaw to cut the building in half exactly on the property line. I watched with satisfaction as the building was sliced in two, and I felt a sense of relief. The neighbor couldn't use the building anymore, and he wouldn't be able to sell his property with an illegal building on it. However, my victory didn't last long. A few weeks later, I received a letter from a law firm representing the neighbor. They were suing me for the destruction of the building, claiming that it was an act of vandalism. They demanded that I pay for the full cost of the building, which was a considerable amount. I was shocked and angry. I had followed the law and had every right to protect my property, but now I was being sued for it. I hired a lawyer to defend myself, and we went to court. The neighbor claimed that he had no idea that the building was on my property and that I had destroyed it without his consent. I presented the surveyor's report and the police report, which proved that the building was illegal and that it was also being used to store illegal firearms. The judge ruled in my favor and dismissed the lawsuit. I felt relieved that the matter was finally resolved. However, the neighbor was still in jail and his property was still in legal limbo. The town decided to sell the property at auction, and it was bought by a developer who planned to build a new house on it. The old shed was removed and the property was cleaned up. I was relieved that the eyesore was gone and the new house was a nice addition to the neighborhood. Update: a few months after the auction, I received a call from the police department. They informed me that the neighbor had been released from jail and had come to the police station to pick up his firearms. The police refused to give him the firearms back as they were still evidence in an ongoing investigation into his illegal possession of firearms. The neighbor became agitated and threatened the police officers, who arrested him again for disorderly conduct and making threats. A few days later, I received a letter from the neighbor's lawyer who was demanding that I pay for his legal fees and compensation for his time in jail. I was outraged that he was still trying to make me pay for his illegal activities. I contacted my lawyer and we decided to countersue the neighbor for his illegal activities and the cost of the lawsuit that he had filed against me. We went to court and the judge ruled in my favor, stating that the neighbor had no rights to claim compensation for his illegal activities. However, the neighbor refused to give up and he continued to file frivolous lawsuits against me. It seemed like he was determined to make my life miserable and I didn't know what to do. I was worried that he might try to retaliate against me and I started to fear for my family's safety. Then one day, I received a call from the police department. They informed me that the neighbor had been arrested for possession of illegal firearms and for planning an attack on my family. They had found evidence in his house that he had been monitoring my family's movements and had planned to attack us. I was horrified, and grateful that the police had caught him before he could harm us. The neighbor was sentenced to several years in prison and his property was seized by the state. The house was sold at auction again, and this time it was bought by a family who were happy to be living in a peaceful neighborhood. I finally felt safe and relieved that the nightmare was over. In the end, justice was served, and I learned that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even if it means going up against a crazy neighbor. I also learned the importance of being vigilant and taking measures to protect yourself and your family. Although the experience was traumatic, it taught me to be more aware of my surroundings and to stand up for my rights. The next story is titled, "My Dad is Forcing Me to Either Quit My Job or to Half My Hours, Yet Refuses to Support Me Financially Despite the Fact that I'm a Minor." Is this normal? For reference, I'm 17 and I'm in school full-time, 5 days a week. I work 12 to 8 on the weekends and haven't had a day off other than for COVID leave since August. Of course, my 7-day week schedule isn't ideal, but I really appreciate the income and have grown to like my job. Last summer, I really struggled to find myself a job. I was 16, and after dropping in and emailing 40 different employers and revising my CV about 1,000,000 times, I lost all hope. My parents decided that I was old enough to support myself and cut me off financially and stopped giving me bus money or lifts. I live in the countryside about 20 kilometers away from all my friends, so I spent the summer completely alone, which was really difficult for me. All of my employed friends had gotten their jobs through their parents or friends of their parents, but my parents still made no effort to put in a personal word on my behalf to any employers they were on friendly terms with. Anyways, August rolled around and I finally got a job at a McDonald's about a half-hour drive from me after 4 months in isolation. My parents immediately turned their noses up at the mention of McDonald's, but I wasn't in any position to be picky and I'm still very grateful for the job. They've always put massive pressure on me to do well in school, and so to please them, I've been overexerting myself for months and have a long streak of A's and B's. Unfortunately, I miss a day or two of school on average a month because of my period. For years, I've spent once a month paralyzed with cramps and nausea, which are 1,000,000 times worse than what any other girl I've talked to about this has ever experienced. I'm convinced I have endometriosis and have brought the subject up with my parents again and again over the years and have begged them for a hospital appointment. 4 years later, and I still haven't seen anybody about my period pains, and I still continue to miss school over it. Despite this, my parents are constantly on my back about the days that I've missed at school, and yet neglect to get me any sort of help or treatment for what I'm going through. About 2 months ago, I missed a week of school because I was sure I had COVID, when in actuality, I just had a bad dose of tonsillitis. My parents were furious when I tested negative for COVID and nagged and argued with me about it for about another month until I actually did test positive and ended up missing another full week of school. I've since caught up on all the work I missed, and I haven't broken my streak of A's and B's. Today and yesterday I stayed home from school because I've had another bout of tonsillitis, which went untreated last time and this time as well. Apparently this was the breaking point for my dad, and he called me down from my room and told me if I didn't either quit my job or drop down to 1 day a week, he was going to go into the manager's office and withdraw his parental consent himself. He blamed my illness on work and told me that it was unacceptable that I was missing school, and told me that I needed to take a day off to dedicate wholly to study. I tried to reason with him and showed him my report cards and recent test results and told him my grades were perfect and I couldn't be blamed for catching COVID or tonsillitis. He shut me down and told me that my grades didn't matter because the fact remained that I was still missing school. I'm unsure what to do or how to change my dad's mind. I know a 7-day week is extreme for someone my age, but I have no other option. In order to see my friends and do nice things in the city outside of school, I need funds. In order to have funds, I need a job. My parents want me to have both a school life and a social life, but won't give me a single cent out of their pocket to get me out of my countryside jail cell. Pocket money is out of the question. I've tried to negotiate my way into making some kind of deal with them by doing good in school and doing any chores my parents ask of me, but their argument is that I shouldn't be rewarded for doing the bare minimum of what is expected of me. Now that I have my own job, I'm financially independent and can no longer be guilt-tripped by them about money or by my laziness. I'm currently saving for a month-long holiday during the summer, and I already have deposits laid down and plane tickets bought. Still, I need to earn a little extra money to pay the entire thing off. It's my reward to myself for the effort I've put in at school and for all the hours I've worked. For me, my job allows me to actually do nice things for myself and to see my friends. Quitting it or slicing my income in half is not an option. Without it, my parents have made it very clear that they would not support me or give me any kind of pocket money to get a bus to see my friends or to treat myself. I've proved to my parents time and time again that I can excel in school, take care of my physical and mental health, see my friends, and simultaneously work, but they're still not satisfied. I'm very frustrated by this whole situation, as I'm an only child who's fortunate to have 2 working parents who are married happily. Still, it often bothers me that I have friends with 5 siblings and a single mother who have better financial support than me. Of course, I know people's financial situations are not nearly as straightforward as that, and I don't mean to sound spoiled, but it is frustrating for me and I wish my life could be different. What can I do? Am I being an a-hole by not obeying them? Is that fair? The last story is titled, "Sorry, Dear Cousin and Entitled Family, I Won't Be the Maid of Honor." I, 27F, have a cousin, 26F, with who we were really close and people thought we were sisters, but that changed in high school. She became a completely different person than what she was. It got to the point that she relaxed my hair with her hair relaxer, which is a strong one and mine was a soft one, to see me in pain because she started dating my ex-BF because she was the other girl. Because of this, I had to cut my hair due to the fact that it was expired and my hair wouldn't stop falling. After that, she would steal friends and boyfriends just to spite me, but I didn't let this affect me. From 2018 until late 2019, I dated my ex, 33M, and she hooked up with him and got together. She thought she would affect me by doing this, but she was livid that I didn't care. She started harassing me by sending pictures of them together and leaving on my balcony a black voodoo doll, which I got a restraining order due to the harassment. But it was for 6 months, lasted in 2020. Now to the present. She recently got engaged and she announced it on Facebook. I don't have one, friends and family told me all about it, but I didn't care. And the wedding was going to be a Christmas wedding. Recently at family dinner, she asked me to be her maid of honor because thanks to you, we met. Everybody stopped talking and paid attention to what I was going to say, but I flatly said no. She then asked why, and all I did was give her a look that said, "You know why." She then started saying that it would be a good opportunity to bond again. I told her I wasn't going to do it and asked for someone else since the day she was having her wedding I would be away on a trip. She started crying, more like manipulating, that if I can't do this I would be uninvited to the wedding. I told her fine by me. I didn't wait for her answer, I left her with a surprised Pikachu face. When I got home I got angry texts from my family saying that I should be the bigger person and do this for her. Toxic much? Well, that's what happens when you're raised in a Latino household. And I explained this to some friends and my BF, 28M. They told me I did the right thing by turning this down, and I gave her my reasons. I don't care about becoming the villain in the family, I'm just avoiding drama and toxicity. I'm just saving myself. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.